lock up and nice gift to give, so graduation gift, all of that. So thank you very much. Make sure he leaves with a full heart and full pockets, because he's certainly filled our hearts. So my talk this morning is on the divine flow. There is something of spirit, there is something of God that wants to be birthed in our lives. And we are necessary and needed and vital to bring that to life, to bring the dreams of God to life. The only way they can come to life is through you and through me. And we have to be that vessel. Without us, those dreams of spirit will not happen, and the world and life will be the less for it. We are midwives to the Spirit of God in the physical plane. We're just that important. We're just that needed. Our greater ideas of how we can live in more love and joy and health and happiness, we have to protect them because they are spirit inspired. So we, just like you have a plant you buy and you protect it, you water it, you make sure it gets enough sunshine, you mulch around it. Protect your ideas of how you can live in more love and joy. Don't go out and share them with everyone. Give them some encouragement. Give them some attention. Don't hand them off to just everyone. Protect them. Our goal is to keep our attention on our best possibilities. And when fears and doubts show up, to let those be smoothed away as quickly as possible. Release them as quickly as you can. Hold on to those ideas that fill with you with hope and encouragement. Release those ideas that fill you with fear and doubt. So right now, the idea that I'm having that's showing up in my life a good bit is that I should be eating healthier. And I should be eating more greens in my life. So I decided that a good way to do that was to have a kale smoothie each morning. That was the first day of the program. Day 2 of the program, I changed my intention to how I can make a kale smoothie taste good. Yeah. So I set the intention of making a good tasting kale smoothie. So I put that intention out. I start envisioning myself experimenting a little bit with the kale. Why do they sell kale in those big, huge bags? Nobody can eat that much kale. You're like force-feeding yourself kale by the end of the week. So I see myself using the kale, loving the kale. I see myself drinking the kale. Oh, it's tasting good. It's nourishing all my body. It's giving me energy and vitality and all of that. Now, you see, that sets up a vibration. That sets up a vibration of intent. And the more I can hold on to that vibration, that I can make a good tasting smoothie, the more I hold on to that, the greater the possibilities that is going to show up in my life. When I put the intention into consciousness, and when I do that, what will start happening is I will get kind of little fireflies of flickers, a little twinkling of ideas in the dark. And if I will honor them, if I will play with them, if I will give gratitude for them, if I start realizing, wait a minute, this might be something, this is something I can work with, I'll get an idea of how I can make that smoothie taste better. Maybe I'll add in a little mango. Now, that was one of my first thoughts. Well, you know what? Then I realized you can buy mango pre-cooked, frozen in a bag. How easy is that? And then you might get another idea. You might be looking at the bag of kale, wondering, how am I going to get rid of this bag of kale? And you realize on it, well, I can saute this kale. I can put a little olive oil on it, a little garlic, and a little salt. And, you know, one thing that does is that shrinks the kale down. I'm the boss of the kale now. Yeah. Who's terrorizing my kitchen now? Yeah. So you may get a whole different idea. And then you may be in the grocery store and you may be contemplating the kale, and all of a sudden you look across there, and across the aisle, what is it? A cantaloupe. And you might say to yourself, I can eat the cantaloupe. I don't even have to eat the kale. Yeah. So you have the basic idea. The basic idea is I want to eat more health. That's the big idea. The kale has become the thing that I have focused on. That's the particularity, the kale. But you know, Spirit has all of creation to get my good to me. Spirit has all of creation. So if I will just be open and receptive, I may figure out how to make the kale tasty, or I may realize, wait a minute, cantaloupes are very tasty. I can switch over to cantaloupes. But there is the impulse for me to live in greater health, because that Spirit showing up, those ideas for me to live in greater health, greater vitality, enjoying it. That's the other thing. Spirit wants me to enjoy. Those are all Spirit ordained ideas. Now, by setting your attention, you create a vibration of greater health. And if you hold on to it, it has to reflect back in your life. Now, here's something to try. Here's something you can try. You take an intent of what you want in your life. I want to eat healthier. And then you can link it to a memory where you felt really loved and supported. It's almost what I'm thinking of. It's almost like the imagery of Moses, his mom, putting him in the weed basket and sending him down the river. Moses is the better idea. Moses is the better intention. The wicker basket is the act of love, and then sending down a river of consciousness. Strong memories, both good and bad, create deep patterns in our thinking. And these patterns are reservoirs for strong emotions. So when we link our desires with deep emotions, we create powerful imagery of our good. And we've created what Dr. Holmes, the founder of our teaching, called a mental equivalent. It really is nothing more than an image in your mind of what you want to create. And that's a very powerful thing. Particularly when you can back it with some emotion. That's the jet fuel to it. When you have the mental image of what you want in your life, you can back it by emotion, and when you can say yes to it, when you can say, yes, this is good for me to have it. It's good for me to have love in my life. It's good for me to have health in my life. It's good for me to have prosperity. And not just for me, but for the whole world. It's going to do everybody good for me to have this thing. And when you can keep that mental image in your mind, and you can power it by good and positive emotions, you're doing something very powerful. You're doing a thing that's very effective. Because it's never been about you convincing Spirit, you convincing God that you deserve the health, the love, the prosperity. God already wants to pour these things down on you. God wants to open up the floodgates of heaven so that you can experience these great things. It's all a matter of our being open and receptive to it. Our saying, yes, I deserve this. Yes, I'm worthy of it. That's all that we're trying to do. So I can take my desire for a good tasting kale smoothie, and I can link it to the memory of my aunt who used to slip me a $5 when I was struggling to get through college. And those things, two things together, I can throw into the river of consciousness, into the river of thought, into the mind of the universe, the mind of God. And in that place, those ideas will magnetize events and reflect back to me those emotions and thoughts that I have originally sent them out with. Spirit is always reflecting back to us through events the thoughts and the emotions that we are vibrating at, that we're putting out. Now, this will happen if I don't set up roadblocks of negativity and morbidity. Negativity and morbidity. And we love to play in negativity and morbidity. We love them. We talk about them. We inflate them. We turn on the news so we can hear about them 24/7. We share them with everyone we do. But the whole crux of our lives is what we're choosing to focus our attention on. Are we choosing to focus on the good of life, or are we choosing to focus on the negativity? Are we choosing to think of our greater possibilities, or are we choosing to dwell in our loss and disappointments? And source, sometimes this is easier to do than others. The other morning, I had gotten up. I had it was a great day. It was sunny. It was, not so hot yet. And I had done my meditation. I had my kale smoothie. And I was getting ready to take the dogs out for a walk. And now I know the idea of taking dogs for a walk seems easy. And our house, it's like a diplomatic mission you wouldn't believe. It's easier to get prisoners out of North Korea than to take our 2 dogs for a walk. We have 2 rescue dogs. The one that's been with us the longest, she's quite active, and she likes to really move around the neighborhood. So I take her on the first walk and let her go all through the neighborhood. The second dog, that's Maddie, and we've only had Maddie for 2 years now. And Maddie was abused. Her owners had too much going on in their lives, so they just put Maddie in a pen and fed her for 2 years, and she became very, very large, twice the size she's supposed to be. So since we've had her, we've kept her on a diet the whole time, and she has shrunk down considerably. She's still kind of big, but she's much better than what she was, and she does like to walk because she likes to bark at everybody. So we encourage the walking. So the other morning, I had taken Sadie. I'd come back and got Maddie. I've got them both on leashes, and they like to tangle me all up, And I'm out walking around, and a little lady in our neighborhood, she's a little German lady who walks with the walking sticks. She saw us, and she likes to pet Maddie. Sadie has none of this because as far as Sadie is concerned, Sadie adopted me, and she doesn't really have any other room for another human in her life, so she's not interested. Maddie likes to be petted. So we were going over, and the little German lady is petting Maddie, and Maddie's a Sheltie, so she looks like a big fur ball, and she was feeling underneath her fur, and she looked up to me, and she says, "Well, my, she's quite the chunky monkey, isn't she?" Now, I'm the school of thought that I can talk bad about my family all you want. But I don't need anybody else joining in. But since Maddie can't really understand English, I was kind of, it was like, okay, no harm, no foul, that kind of stuff. And so the little lady, 85 years old, walking sticks, she looks up, she looks at me for a moment. Pats my stomach and says, "Well, you're a bit of a chunky monkey too." Now, I didn't do what my first response was, what one of my sisters would say, open up a can of whoop ass on her. After all, she was kind of spry and with walking sticks and everything. But I fell what I often do, back on my humor, which has saved me from so much in my life. I made some kind of joke, and I was soon off on my way. Now, I would like to tell you that I'm so evolved, I'm so, enlightened, that it didn't bother me at all. But the truth of the matter is that I didn't wake up that morning wanting to be called a chunky monkey by the world. I didn't dress to be, looking like a chunky monkey. So it was a little thing to deal with. So I was doing my walk, and I thought to myself, well, how can I turn this negative? How can I turn this into a positive? What can I use to take this comment? And I know the little lady in no way wanted to hurt my feelings or anything, but what can I do to make this creative for me, to make this positive for me? And so I thought to myself, well, where did even the idea of chunky monkey come from? Well, where I know it is from Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I think they got a variety. So I was thinking to myself, well, now, Ben and Jerry's has made $1 billion on Chunky Monkey. So if Ben and Jerry has made $1 billion on it, there's $1 billion worth of happiness coming to me. There's $1 billion worth of joy and love and support and encouragement coming to me. If I can get my mind off the negativity or the hurt, if I can get it off that and switch it to, okay, there's something positive coming here, and I can open myself up to it. There's something positive coming into my life, and I can be creative about it. And I can be the co-creator of spirit to create heaven on earth. Because that's what we're here to do. And when I've done that, when I've shifted from that negative, because of course, the negative wants to call out. You know, okay, you remember the little lady, and then the next thing I can remember is the 7th grade school teacher, and then from that it goes to the boss who never liked me, and it can just snowball into a full day, a full week, a full month, a full lifetime, Or I can say, I'm not gonna play in that. I've played in that playground long enough. Now, what does it say in Scripture? When I was a child, I played with childish things. I'm an adult now. I've moved past that. So that's what we want to do spiritually. When we play in that negativity, we're playing in childish things. We're spiritual adults now. So now I need to step up to my responsibility. And my responsibility is to keep my mind and open to and receptive to every great blessing that can come into my life. Now, I know some people will say, well, Reverend Ken, that's all very well and good, but there's some parts of life that you can't just dismiss with humor. There's some pains of life that are too deep, and you can't laugh them away. And that is true. I don't discount that. I know that. I see that, and I hope that I deal with that in ways that I can. Friday before last, I got a call early in the morning. One of my fellow ministers in Atlanta and his partner has a really dreadful form of cancer, and it's creating just extreme pain. And so he had called me early because he does that. And he says, Ken, he says, it's Friday. And he says, I was just checking on his meds last night. And he says, I've realized he's gone through almost all of his pain medication. And he says, I put the call in late to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy came back and said the insurance company has flagged him, and they're not going to give him any more of this pain medication, even though his doctors have prescribed it. And he says, it's 7 o'clock on Friday. I've got to call down to Grady. And if you know Atlanta, you know what that means. Grady is the county hospital for Fulton County. It's in the downtown, in the heart of Atlanta. To get to it can be a nightmare of traffic. Where they live is a good 30 miles away. And so you're talking about driving through Atlanta twice in one day, because you have to go to their pharmacy to get the first prescription. He says, I'm terrified that here we are, Friday, that he could be without pain medication for the weekend. And so when I got off the phone with him, I immediately started doing treatment, prayer work, affirmative prayer work, to see this happening, to see every step of the way being clear and open and sailing through. So I envisioned Paul making the call, getting hold of the right nurse, the right doctor, figuring it out, getting the prescription to the pharmacy, the traffic being good, going down back and forth. This is what we're called to do. We're called to help out in the best way we can, exactly where we are. So I talked to him again this week, and he said, it was amazing. He said, because I called the doctor, they looked over the charts, and they said, yeah, they're right. We're not going to be able to get him anymore, but we can give him morphine, because the insurance companies don't tag morphine as a possible street drug. So they're not going to bother. They're going to let him use all the morphine he wants. And so it was an easy thing. I didn't even have to go to Grady. I went right to our CVS and picked it up. So that's a good demonstration. But I know here's really the crux of the problem. Where do we go from here? Here's a person that's really suffering, that's really in pain. And so we do we do prayers for this? How do we do prayers for this person? Do we do prayers for them, total healing? If we can envision it, that's what we do. I do prayers. I see him at peace and ease. I see him comfortable. And then I treat for what I call divine right action. Divine right action. And what that means is that God may know something that I don't know. Because, I've given up saying that I know everything. There's some things that God knows that I don't know. And so what I do know is that God is loving and compassionate and kind. And so if there's a situation that I can't see how it may end in a loving, kind way, then I have to put it to Spirit. Spirit, you're going to have to figure out a way for this to unfold in a loving and compassionate and kind way, and ease and comfort and peace. And when I did that prayer, the first thing that I saw, the imagery I got, was of my friend sitting in his beautiful garden. He's got an amazing garden and a warm house coat with a great cup of tea, and with the beautiful flowers of Atlanta right now, and all the birds singing. And in that moment, he is healed. In that moment. And one moment after another, that's all eternity is one moment after another. When they say Jesus was on the cross, the Romans had beaten him to an inch of his life and had tortured him, really, and split open both his sides, and he then crucified him. And on the cross, the thief next to him cried out. And Jesus responded. He said, I'll see you this day in paradise. I'll see you this day in paradise. And what a remarkable thing. Because Jesus wasn't saying, I'll save you, you need to forgive you. Jesus said, you will be with me in paradise. I'm going, you will be with me. And it's profound. Here he was in this rejected. Here he was, had been beaten. He could have easily focused on his pain, but he lifted his eyes to a better idea. He chose to be about his Father's work, and in that moment he was free. He didn't just proclaim the truth for himself. He proclaimed it for all those around him. If they deserved it or not, it wasn't what he was interested in. Now the world, they thought they were rid of him. They threw him in a tomb and they rolled a stone over the doorway, and they thought they were done with that problem. They didn't ever envision hearing from him again. But the compassion of his soul would not be held back. This morning, you may have allowed the world to put you in a tomb. You may have allowed the world to roll a stone of lack or limitation, of woundedness or victimhood over the doorway of your dreams. But you can look at that stone and say, mountain, be moved, for God and I have dreams that must breathe the breath of life. I have put myself down enough. I may have been down, I may have been out, but I'm taking back my power. I'm proclaiming the good news of my soul. I am lifting my eyes up and seeing heaven on earth for myself and for all those around me. You see, the world may have discounted you. The world may have given up on you. The world may not have seen the best of you. And at times you may not have seen the best of yourself. And at times you may have given up on yourself. But God never did. So go tell it to the mountain. You haven't seen anything yet. Spirit and I have work to do. So stone roll back, because there's a chunky monkey on the loose. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.